no idea.
Just right
What
here.
I'm talking-
Good morning.
Okay. Give us a check for like.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is now 9 a.m. Call this meeting to order. Start joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
To God, indivisible,
with liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. This morning's invocation is Commissioner Spence.
Oh, hey, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I spend a lot of time out in the woods. It helps me to focus on having perspective for all of our differing viewpoints sometimes, and helps with my patients. So it's essential for navigating our board's differing viewpoints, and I work through county issues and our upcoming agenda items while often cross-country skiing and spending time out in the woods. It helps me focus on elements of our issues, and I have a quick reflection about it. It's going to take about 10 seconds, so don't worry, we can get on to business. Beneath the cedar canopy, I lay my questions down. The forest does not answer quickly. It lets the wind sift through my thoughts. Growth is slow and never in a straight line. Here, disagreement becomes two branches, reaching in opposite directions, but sharing the same root, like our diverse board's shared vision for a healthy, thriving county for everyone. Here, the air is crisp and sharp, and I remember that truth is not a single path, but a canopy that's woven from many leaves, each catching light in its own way. Moving along, I carry the forest silence with me, not as an absence of sound, but as a space where all voices can breathe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All righty, I believe it is time for a roll call. Mr. Gedman.
McAllister,
Here.
Flynn,
Here.
Walter,
Here.
Spence,
Here.
Henschel,
I'm here.
Nelson, Andrews,
Here.
Morris,
Here.
Seifert.
Here. All righty. Right on to first public comment. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Gedman.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provisions of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board may state his or her name and township or district, providing a specific address is not recommended. Persons may address the board on matters or issues which are relevant and germane to county government as determined by the chair. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chair shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chair may at his discretion allow an additional opportunity or time to speak if determined germane and necessary to the discussion. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4 Order of Business. However, public comment may be received during the meeting when a specific agenda topic is scheduled for discussion by the board. Prior to the first public comment, the chair will indicate the topics on the agenda for which public comment will be accepted. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chair. The board shall not comment or respond to a person who is addressing the board. Silence or non-response from the board should not be interpreted as disinterest or disagreement by the board. Please be respectful and refrain from personal or political attacks.
Thank you. Anybody else besides Mr. Moore? Just jump right behind him.
Bruce Moore, I'm in East Bay Township in Commissioner Henschel's district. I have 2 comments this morning. The first is a correction to the minutes. The minutes from the January 21st meeting show that Commissioner Nelson was present when in fact he was absent, as is shown in the subsequent motions and votes. The second item is a request. Could you please change the name of the tax increment financing payment in lieu of taxes and brownfield ad hoc to something a little easier like the housing ad hoc? It takes 2 lines to write and another 5 lines to explain what it is, when fundamentally it's about improving the housing situation in the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another acronym.
Another acronym, absolutely.
Wrong.
No, he's not.
Is this the public forum? I'm allowed to speak up here?
Absolutely.
So it sounds like I have a 3-minute time limit.
My name's Isaiah Moser. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm a 14-year resident of Grand Traverse County. I currently live in Precinct EB1, the Wood Creek neighborhood, Commissioner Henschel's precinct. I've been a resident of the county for 14 years. Also have had an address in Precinct PE1, which is where I've lived previously. The real thing that I have to do today is I'm appealing a denial of a FOIA request, so I'm trying to submit that paperwork to you guys today. I love Wood Creek neighborhood. I love living in Grand Traverse County. As I said, I've lived out on the peninsula as well. I have two school-age children, Rowan and Remy, 12 and 9. You know, we're just residents, and we really appreciate living here peaceably. I guess independently of my thing, I'd like to say, you know, we want to keep ICE out of our communities. Sorry, that's a side note, but my mind's a little scattered today. Anyway, as I said, I've been denied a FOIA request that I put in, so I'm submitting to, let me see what the paperwork is called. I would like to appeal the denial of records, so I'm going to submit that to you guys shortly here. To kind of explain what's going on with me, on December 19th, I was pulled over without an apparent moving violation. In my neighborhood, I was stopped by the sheriff's deputy. His reasoning was that there was a bench warrant associated with my license plate. I was unaware of that. Anyways, on December 19th, I was pulled over, the probable cause being that I was observed as a male driver of a vehicle registered to myself. I was subsequently taken into custody and transported to the public facility in Grayling, where I was able to bond out. And then I had my father come and pick me up, bring me back to Traverse City. The original charge was for a registration violation. The sticker registration tags on my plates were expired. And I had been pulled over in Grayling, and then that was the charge. And then I failed to appear in court, and so a bench warrant was put out for me. So anyway, yeah, the original charge was a registration violation, and then I had a failure to appear in court, which led to a bench warrant for my arrest. So I was arrested on December 19th of last year. I had an arraignment hearing on January 6th in the county court of Crawford County, and I have a follow-up hearing on February 10th. I'm trying to gather as much information that I can to be prepared for that. On January 14th, I received FOIA denial redactions paperwork. That's going to be included here. Anyway, I just want what I believe is coming to me, like what's mine. The reason that everything has been redacted, like I have a body cam that has like audio redacted. I have a call for service detail report that is heavily redacted. All the pertinent information is unavailable to me. The reasoning being that it's information that was passed through the law enforcement information network, and then by statute, that's somehow disallowed to me. But that's the decision-making process as to why I was arrested instead of being allowed to pay bond. So I would like to know that. Trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to say. I think it's probably getting close to 3 minutes.
Well, the buzzer was the 3 minutes, so I was like, let you finish your thoughts.
Thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate your time. Have a great day.
If you have paperwork for us, sir, you can hand that to Mr. Alger. Help you out.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too. All right. Any more for first public comment? Going once, going twice, 3 times? Nope. All right, we're going to move right along. The approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda
I'll
as
second that.
presented.
Could you keep up with all that, Mr. Gedman? Natalie just launched that right out there.
I can take a day off.
And
It's
make
great.
up for last time.
Yes, they're in a hurry, I guess. Commissioner Flynn made the motion to accept the agenda as presented with a second by Commissioner Spence.
Thank you.
Comments, questions, or concerns? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Fantastic. Moving on. Consent calendar, Mr. Gedman.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted to receive and file or approve is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. Items to receive. Item A1, a road commission weekly updates. Item A2, Board of Works, December 2025 meeting minutes. Item A3, Northwest Regional Airport Authority, November 2025 meeting minutes. Item A4, the 2025 General Fund financial reports from December. Items to approve. Item B1, adoption of the Board of Commissioners meeting minutes from the January 21st meeting. Item B2, MSU Extension 2026 Memorandum of Agreement. Item B3, Michigan Township Association, appointment to the Economic Development Corporation. Item B4, appointments of non-attorney magistrate for the 86th District Court. Item B5, Salary and Retention Ad Hoc Committee.
All righty. Commissioner Walter.
B1 and B2.
Anything else?
A1, please.
Okay. Anything else? No. I think I'll take a motion to approve what's left, with the exception of amending the minutes to be more accurate. Our meeting minutes are inaccurate on the 21st.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Fantastic. Motion by Commissioner Ansel, second by Commissioner Morris, to approve with the exceptions A1, B1, B2. Mr. Gedman, can we have a roll call vote for that, please?
Flynn,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Spence,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Nelson, excuse me, Andrews,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
McAllister,
Yes.
Seifert.
Yes. All right, seeing there's no special orders of business, I guess we're going to move right to A1. Mr. Spence?
Oh, thank you. I'm just looking over the weekly updates from the Road Commission, and there's just the attachments from December 19th and January 9th. And I'm wondering if it's standard to leave out the weekly updates from the rest of January. And also, there's some notes that they're not really thorough. They leave out a lot of information. For instance, the manager met about the Frankie Road project, but not a lot of detail about what that was. So I did reach out to the manager of the Grand Traverse County Road Commission, asking for more details, and he gave it to me. They were discussing Frankie Road with OHM, the design firm, the engineering firm that's going to come up with the design for Frankie. But I'd like to get a little more information as a commissioner, because Frankie Road affects so many people on so many different levels. I feel like it's an issue that the county needs to have more information about. So I guess my question is, why don't we have weekly updates for more than just 12/19 of 2025 and January 9th of 2026?
Good question. We can ask him. Commissioner Andrews?
I guess I don't know why we have these at all, to be perfectly honest. They're not minutes of meetings. They're not official correspondence. It's, I believe, emailed out, and I'm not sure at this point what purpose it serves to have a partial list of self-selected information, sort of mishmash arbitrarily into our packet. I would suggest, since we have an agenda item today specifically on what do we receive on consent from boards, which I've sent an email, a little bit that got left out of the packet. Maybe we have this discussion as part of that conversation. What do we want to see on consent in our packets? In case we can move to table this item until later in the meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I can do my own, like, I'm going to use the road commission as an example because that's what we're talking about. I can go and look up their minutes online at their website myself, but I feel like some of these things that they're discussing affect us, and it'd be nice to have them in a packet. Is that what you're getting at? Instead of us having to go and do our own legwork of going to their website, it comes to us as a packet?
And that's the agenda, probably could discuss that later in the meeting,
Okay.
in
I
the
just want to
minutes
make sure I was
discussion.
understanding it correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you, getting some but not all is dubious, but I also think we are in something of a limited role to tell the road commission what details to put in their weekly updates. But my point, Commissioner Spence, was only to say, unless you want to take action on this, I suggest we pick this back up in about 15 minutes or 2 hours when we get to the...
That's fair enough.
I mean, I'm assuming too that was over the holiday time and maybe they didn't have a weekly update because it was Christmas, the holidays. So that's the only reason maybe they didn't, but again, we can discuss that later.
Are weekly updates that were emailed since then, but I just feel like they should be included in the packet. And maybe there's a time stop. But why don't we pick it up in 15 minutes? And thank you.
So to hear a motion to receive that?
Oh, yeah, I'll move to receive that.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Spence, a second by Commissioner McAllister to receive, what was that, A1? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to B1.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that meeting minutes up for formal change that Commissioner Nelson was not here at the meeting, but it says that he was here. So I'll make the motion to approve that with that correction.
There's actually the motion on the United We Smile is incorrect in a couple of key ways. So I can add to it as a friendly amendment, or we can discuss and then move. But I'll second your motion.
Yeah, I'll take a friendly amendment.
And I'll make a friendly amendment. The motion regarding United We Smile said, the board directs Administrator Alger to work with Mr. Roof and Mr. Leahy to collaborate on possible options to continue to provide the services that United We Smile provided to Grand Traverse County residents, and to bring them back to our board for consideration.
As opposed to what it was listed there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you get that, Mr. Gedman?
That is the motion you'd like it to reflect?
Nope, that's what I said.
Okay.
You want me to read it again?
Well, that's how you would like the motion to be worded in the correction, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Because that's
Yes.
what we agreed on.
That's fine. We can make that happen.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Walter, second by Commissioner Andrews, with a friendly amendment by Commissioner Andrews, accepted by Commissioner Walter. Any more discussion, comments, corrections, concerns? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Must be some soiree. B2.
Thank you. I just had a couple questions, and Director Berkey was here not too long ago with the annual report, and I always really appreciate that. And just a couple questions about the MOA for 2026, just because my memory is not that awesome into year. I know we have passed this every year. And I'm just wondering a couple things about the amount. Is that the typical amount? The 100K-ish amount, has that changed? What is that based on? Can you just speak to that a little bit and what that covers?
Sure. So what that covers is all the inclusion of all the MSU Extension services into this county. You also actually, because of the size of this county, have a full-time 4-H program coordination, so that includes that extra cost as well. But historically, when the MOA was created, it was based on a population and a flat amount. And then every year, there's been like a cost of living increase. But this year, as I shared with Nate, that we have held this MOA to 2025 costs in response to your generosity with the lease, and obviously recognizing that your board goal was to keep your 2024, was to go and revert back to 2024 costs. So I received permission from my boss to hold the MOA to 2025 costs. So this is actually 3% lower than it would normally be, to be honest. But yes, that's what the MOA includes, and that's what the costs encompass.
Thank you. That's really helpful because I wondered where the, how that was determined, because we don't see that in here. It's just an amount. And
Correct.
So it's the same, basically it's for across the state and then based on population and.
Correct, and that was historically when we reorganized back in 2010, when the MOAs were revamped and changed. And so, yes, that's exactly how it was based on. And then there's been a small cost escalation, except during like the COVID years, we held it to 0% for like 3 years straight. But obviously, as you all know, there's rising costs of healthcare and other things. And so we try to be good partners with the county and not pass on all those costs, knowing that we have our four-legged stool of funding, which is grants, state, federal, and county. And so that's how we've historically accomplished it. But this particular year, based on Nate's recommendation to all county departments, that we did do quite a bit of cost cutting within our county budget that we could control. I know that we're going to be switching to like a phone IT system when we move to our new spaces. So other than the 2 county employees having landlines, we're all getting rid of our landlines as a cost-cutting mechanism that we did in our county budget, recognizing that was kind of the board goal, was that all the things that we could control, we got back down to that 2024 rate, except within personnel. That was something we couldn't control. But we did our very due diligence. And like I said, I did ask my boss about that 3% cost, because that reflected like a several $1,000 savings as well. So he did give me permission, but I will be personally absorbing that cost of that internet phone system at the new spot with my personal, not my personal money, but my MSU appropriated operating account.
And what's the overall budget of MSU Extension for Grand Traverse County?
Our total county budget, let me pull that out, I've got it here.
Just so we understand the context of the county's commitment on the four-legged stool.
Sure, so our entire county appropriation is $279,000 as of 2026.
Thank you, and I know we chatted about it before the meeting, but do you want to give the rest of us an update on
Sure.
how things are going with the new space?
Sure. So, we are going to be taking a tour in February. We had asked, obviously, the folks over there that are doing the construction, we found a time that won't interfere with construction, and there's going to be a slight delay in occupancy. What they're saying now is early April, like April 1st to the 15th, pending obviously approval of those city and county occupancy regulations, and so getting that occupancy permit. So like I shared with you, Commissioner, my office is personally packed. I packed the kitchen between Christmas and New Year's because I like to be early. I don't like to be caught flat-footed. So, we're getting there. As far as we're ready to go as soon as we get that occupancy permit. So. We've hired movers at the expense of MSU, and so I have contracted with those, and we have them an estimate and know what we're taking, and so we're just ready once we get that notification. So we hope to know more when we go for our tour in February. And I've been talking to Mr. Forsyth, and we feel like we have a good plan for that, so we're excited.
Great. Thank you for the update with that. I approve the MOA for 2026 with MSU Extension.
Second.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. So we have a motion by Commissioner Walter with a second by Commissioner Flynn to approve the MOA. What'd you say it was? MOA, thank you.
MOA.
Any more comments, questions, concerns? Yes.
Just
Commissioner Henschel.
briefly, I can remember a time when I was a brand-new county commissioner in, I don't know, 2011, and the county was looking at cutting MSU completely, budget constraints. The pension was, out of this world, and we stuck it out, and I just want to say thank you for the partnership and hearing that you're holding back where you can in times that are needed. Just appreciate that fiscal conservancy and being wise with the tax dollars. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Henschel. We view you as valued partners, and I can do what I can do to advocate. And I always am very one to really recognize the importance of that county partnership, because without you, we wouldn't be able to be here and having our great space across the street to be able to do the good work that we feel is valuable and your constituents do. So I appreciate the vote of confidence. Thank you. We always try to add value to what you do. I know recently we were at a department head meeting and Nate was talking about a new initiative he was doing, and I said, well, put me in, coach, I'm ready to help with that for sure. So I always try to add value when I can and see what work that we do that can integrate better into the work that you're all trying to meet as a goal and a mission.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't feel like Jennifer and Kate specifically are MSUE employees. We actually, they just kind of they feel like they belong to us in
We'll
the
take
county, and we're very grateful for you, Jennifer, your leadership. Kate is great as well, and you guys are a great addition and a very valuable resource, so thank you.
Well, thank you. I feel like I'm rooted here and I feel like I'm welcome here. Being here now for 28 years, housed in a Grand Traverse County office, that's a long time. So you've got old habits die hard, so I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Fantastic. Any more comments? All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
For all your work.
And I didn't know that I would be talking, but just a real quick update. I know our agritourism summit's coming up, Commissioner Seifert, and I know you attended to that last year, but look to get an invitation from me to attend our networking event. We're going to be hosting a soiree, is what we lovingly call it, at the Horse Shows Arena, and we're going to be featuring agritourism summit kind of vendors, and we're going to be having our speakers come, and it'll be our sponsorship event. We'll have a live demonstration of the jumping arena, and so look for an invitation from me. I hope that, Scott, you're willing to come and maybe say a few words as an attendee last year, and then obviously any other commissioner that would like to be our guest. We would love to have you, and you could see some of the work that we're doing in the partnership, so thank you.
Thank you. I'll be there if I can, for sure.
Perfect.
I highly recommend it to anybody that hasn't attended.
Well, thank
Such
you.
an eye-opener.
Thank you.
All right, so seeing that we have no more items moved from the consent calendar, we'll move on to department items. 8A. Did you come up with an acronym for that yet, Nate?
Ad hoc Bravo?
Ad hoc Bravo. Nice. TJ, aren't you the chair on this?
I am, but this is, I'll invite Mr. Cameron unless you want me to present this.
I think Mr. Cameron is.
So I chair the TIF Brownfield pilot ad hoc,
TP Brown.
and I'm happy to consider alternative names. Back in December, we sort of wrapped up the year with some proposals for policy adoptions and changes, but the timing on our last meeting to approve final language coincided with the last meeting of this board, with the budget and everything else, so we kicked it back until January. It was in the packet back in December. And at our meeting at the end of January, we moved to move it forward to this board for discussion about these policies. So perhaps, Maxwell, should we just go in order and start with introduce number 1, the interim guidelines for rental housing projects involving TIF and pilot projects funding?
Yes.
consider. Okay. Okay. Good morning. My name is Maxwell Cameron. I am the Community Development Coordinator for Grand Traverse County. As Commissioner Andrews mentioned, we have 3 items that we want to bring forward to the Board of Commissioners today for discussion, your feedback, and if appropriate, to gain your approval on any of the items that we discuss. As mentioned in the December 17th packet, under the consent calendar, a draft form of all 3 of these were shared with the Board of Commissioners, but today we'd like to take the time to get your comments on what our TIF ad hoc has been working on. The first item is a proposal to adopt interim guidelines for rental housing projects involving tax increment financing and payments in lieu of taxes pilots. These are the guidelines that we have been working on as a committee over the course of 5 or so meetings, and we want to bring those to your attention today to kind of get your feedback as far as the recommendations that we have developed. I don't know if you want me to comment any further on sort of the content, but it's more so to sort of get feedback from the board as far as what has been developed.
And I'll just add, thank you, one more point. The reason this came out was triggered by what started the committee, which was we see projects after they're approved by everyone except us. And that gives us no real ability to have any influence one way or another in terms of policy direction and things we want to see. And so it was to that end that we wanted to make more of an effort to be involved earlier and with some guidance. And so that's the concept we started with, after something like 5 in a row where we get it, it's like the only question is, are you signing it or not signing, right? So as you can see, one of the item 4 on the checklist says concurrent review, and that is the answer, hopefully, is to make sure as soon as an application is filed at somewhere in the process that we are also in the loop. That way, so that's a little more context.
I love it. Thanks.
Well, some of that was when we started doing this, and we've all heard this. I mean, if you went to the policy conference, was that 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
That it's like a new house costs $91,000 in bureaucracy. An average American home, $91,000 is spent on red tape. And so when we started this ad hoc and we went forward, we were looking at lots of things, but one of those things that kept recurring was about how we can make it easier for someone who is either building a housing project, building a home, apartment buildings, whatever. That's like, it's awful. That's like, hey, we start here, and then we come to the county, and then we got to start all over again. We want to kind of shave some of that bureaucracy off and be upfront and honest to say, if you want to do a project for these kinds of funds available, this is what the county is preferential to. This is what we're looking at. So just to make it easier on them. And that's really, and it just blossomed from there, quite frankly. So this was quite a bit of work to get here, and without the work of Mr. Cameron, Mr. Forsyth, and the public at large that came to help us, it would have been even more difficult. So.
And we did have, in these meetings, we did invite folks around the community that are in the residential and, developing industry that read through these with us and agreed and felt comfortable with this checklist. We
had a lot of folks that are in this industry. They had some very well-attended meetings. Yeah, Commissioner Walter.
Thanks for working on these. I guess where to start, maybe we'll just start with that.
You need your microphone.
We'll just start with that. Thanks for working on these. I'm going to start over. Can you hear me, Lloyd? Where's Lloyd?
He's in Lake Ann.
Thank you for the reminder. I do have several questions, but maybe I'll start with that first one, because the documents that you shared with us have like the original and then supposedly red line, which I'm assuming is the one with the purple underline.
So that's item 2. So the checklist is brand new.
I know, but the checklist does connect with the resolution.
Only indirectly.
Because some of it doesn't connect, so that's what I'm
Yeah,
going to
so
talk to.
so you want to talk about all, like what, let's just say, the 3 things we're going to talk about are the checklist for rental projects, updating the policy we already have on pilots, particularly housing pilots, and then the statement of work. So number 2, we adopted
A couple years ago.
23.
Yeah.
And it would align the AMI between our checklist and the housing policy by doing both of these at the same time. And that's, but I believe the only change to the policy, which is boilerplate language or sort of a draft, a generic policy that we adopted quickly, the only change that we're proposing on it is to update the AMI.
Well, there's some things in the checklist that don't align with the policy, and that's what I was trying to get at, related to the desire to have more of a notice before it comes to us. That does say in our policy now that the developer provides the request and supporting documentation to the county simultaneous with the submission to the local municipality for the tax exemption, but no fewer than 90 days in advance of officially submitting a request to the state, whichever comes first. And then and that's what we passed 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, whatever it was. So I'm trying to understand with the checklist, with the desire to have concurrent review, how is that different than what's in the policy right now?
The interim checklist applies to more than just housing pilots, because it only applies to housing pilots. That 90 days, I believe, is statutory. Am I right? Under the state law, you have to have that 90-day provision in there. If you don't get it within 90 days of a decision, it's ineligible for consideration. So that language, I believe, is required to be there. It doesn't change the fact that we also can have a requirement of early. They can both be true. I don't believe they're actually in conflict. Both ask for them early. The 90-day rule basically means we cannot, as a matter of law, consider an application that we get late on those pilots under state law.
So the idea with the checklist is to cover things for TIFs but pilots are already covered under the resolution that we're looking at, but not TIFs. So is that what you're trying to include those as well in the checklist?
I would say that the policy is a background document that we have to have as a matter of state law in order to be able to approve housing pilots. The checklist is more specific to additional items that our overall county approach to how we give away tax breaks on housing projects. So the housing TIF, housing pilots are a subset of those. I don't believe we have the discretion, unless we want to opt out entirely of housing pilots, to modify much of that resolution language.
Everything you stated is accurate. It's the state law. When it comes to workforce housing pilots, there is deadlines, there's a shot clock, and there is a requirement to have a policy or ordinance in place. So the second document, Commissioner Walter, really is focused on state law. And then the checklist is, as Commissioner Andrews said, is broader. It's anytime there are housing-related incentives that need Board of Commissioners approval, here's a one-page checklist, here's a guide. And yeah, we're reading both documents in harmony, even though they say, one says concurrent, the other says early or simultaneous. We're reading those as meaning the same thing.
Well, maybe we just need to be more specific on that concurrent review to align it with the 90 days, because allow adequate review and input feels kind of vague and subjective. So if we're wanting to align it with the pilot, like, is there a reason not to put the 90 days in there?
I think the 90 days is not as good for us as at the time of application. It gives, I think we would rather see it at the time of application than 90 days before you bring it to us, assuming that the process takes more than 90 days. So let's use a project. Let's say there's a project on the agenda today. Let's say someone started planning it a year ago. If we had the 90-day rules, we don't have to hear about it until 90 days ago. If we have it at the time of application, we have to hear about it a year ago. We would rather hear about it a year ago than 90 days ago. So we don't want the 90 days, but we have to have the 90 days by state law. So that's why we went with at the time of application instead of the 90 days.
I'm with you. I hate hearing things last minute. You know, if we're going to be doing building projects for the next few years, our plate's already full. And if someone's dumping something on our plate while we're a bit distracted over here, we won't give it the attention it needs. So the more lead time, the better.
I will note, Commissioner Walter, this is new territory for the board, and it's an interim guideline to give ourselves the opportunity, if it doesn't work, to fix it. We think our community is better off if they have clear, straightforward, simple idea as to what this board wants to see for these projects. That's public resources. We're trying to keep it straightforward. It doesn't have to, it's meant to make the process easier, not harder. So that's the idea with, yes, it is a little bit vague to allow, but it says it before the project is submitted to the local unit for approval. So we don't want East Bay to approve this before we ever hear about it, to use an example.
Okay, well then, I'm just trying to square the resolution with the checklist and make sure that we're getting what we want out of it. I'm totally in agreement that we want to be able to see it with as much time as possible. So when I read concurrent review, that's the bolded part, and then applicants must notify county staff to allow adequate review and input before this project is submitted to the local government unit, governing body for approval. What is that? What's your vision for that, since it says they have, in the pilot, it says they have to submit it to us at the same time as the local unit of government?
So let's create a hypothetical. Let's assume Mr. Cameron is going to build a project, and he is going to do it as a TIF. His proposal is to do it as a TIF for various reasons. And let's say it's going to be in Peninsula Township for my district. Because it's a TIF, presumably this guideline is made available. There's fair questions as to how, but we would distribute it, make sure planners are aware of it. Mr. Cameron, in that case, would need to be told or provide a copy of it to, say, Mr. Forsyth. Say we just designate him as the staff person. That way, it's officially in Mr. Forsyth's inbox on day one. As soon as it went to Peninsula, we can raise concerns, we can let the planner know that we have some concerns or whatever needs to happen. Peninsula goes through its process, it comes over to us. If we had, concerns about the AMI or concerns about whether short-term, any of the topics, we would sewer, right? Maybe we've got concerns about sewer connections to it or anything like that. In that example, the resolution is irrelevant because it's not a pilot. let's say as he's going along, he switches to a pilot, the same scenario would apply. He still would need to have sent it to us at the time of application.
The staff.
To
not
staff,
us.
to Mr. Forsyth, right. If, in fact, he didn't do that, let's say for whatever reason, he decides to go to a housing pilot and he goes to Peninsula and it's gone all the way through, he didn't follow our policy, he comes over here and he says, I want you to approve this housing pilot. If we didn't get notice of it within 90 days, we can automatically say no. If we didn't get notice of it at the time of application under our policy, I don't think we could say no to him, right? Like, I think the resolution will trump because it's state law. But I do believe as a matter of policy, we are now telling him, we really want you to do it on the front end. He may not, right? In a situation where he didn't do that, and it goes all the way through, and somehow we didn't know anything about it, didn't hear about it through the grapevine, as long as it meets that 90-day window, I believe we have to take it up. But, so that is law, we couldn't bypass it. I don't think we could deny it on the basis, if it otherwise meets the policy, that you didn't get it to us the day you applied. But the goal is to funnel everybody into this concurrent application process. That's the general policy. It will be trumped by the more specific, so if it's a housing TIF and if it's the 90-day issue is triggered, that would override the concurrent review, but for the most part, the goal here is as a policy to say we want it from day one. I don't know if I answered your question.
For both, but technically that's what the checklist is, but technically if you have a pilot, you don't have to do that, according to state law. So are we able to supersede our own resolution?
We can't supersede, but we can have a policy. That's the point. That's my example. If we said, let's say Mr. Cameron had a project and he went all the way through Peninsula Township and he brought it to us 93 days before he wanted us to act on it, we would not be able to say, I'm sorry, Mr. Cameron, you didn't bring it to us at the day you applied to Peninsula, right?
A pilot, anyway.
A housing pilot, because that 90 days is statutory, right? We can't override it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we can't have a policy that still applies in that case. It means we couldn't I think we would be on shaky legal ground if we used our policy as a reason to deny a pilot application that otherwise met the statute.
Right, that's what I'm questioning, is it feels a little gray area there.
I don't think it's a gray area to have the policy. I think the gray area would only arise in a situation where somebody came in and didn't meet our policy and did meet the 90-day rule.
This is a preference, like, this is what we prefer process. But if,
And for us, it's a really smart play in that regard, because when it comes to these projects, a lot of times it involves a tremendous amount of back and forth. It's an iterative process. And we don't, on the onset, we may not know exactly what route the project is going to go down. And so if we can establish up front that we want enough time to review and make informed decisions, we can best leverage some of the other incentives and tools, or maybe even access to grants, so forth, that are out there to help support a project the best that we can.
If I could just add to that, yeah, everything Maxwell said is true and accurate. There are unknowns. We tried to get in front of the unknowns through the policy, and we also inserted, it's Section 10 in the policy. Section 10 gives administration the ability to develop its own internal guidance to implement the plan. So these are all good questions. There are some unknowns, but we're trying to be proactive and stay ahead of it with the adoption of this policy, and then Section 10 even gives us more proactive approach.
So I do have a question. Do you
go
have a
ahead. No,
follow-up?
go
Well,
ahead, finish up
I
then.
have a whole list of things, so if you want to talk to
It might
this.
address, yeah, because I just want to kind of loop back when we're all done discussing this, because I have kind of a broad overview question. So go ahead and finish.
Well,
up.
since you brought up the implementation, that was my question is, what's an example of what administration is authorized to do to help implement these guidelines?
So I can't answer that specifically. All I can tell you is the process would be, we would do what we did in 2025, which would be some internal memo, document, bullet points, further checklists that we would then present to the ad hoc committee to get feedback. And then we would then include those probably like a receive and file to the Board of Commissioners, just to keep everybody aware and some understanding of administration's interpretation of the guidance. To try to give you specific examples, it's just really hard to do that sitting here right now.
I mean, I would say if administration emailed this to the MTA, the Grand Traverse MTA, and all the planners in Grand Traverse County, that would be a step under 10. That is them taking reasonable steps necessary to implement these guidelines.
Yeah, that's something I was actually, yes, thinking about, is sending this to every township supervisor, planning director, city staff. That's an example of implementation.
Mr. Cameron might go to Peninsula Township and distribute copies of this and speak in public comment or get on their agenda. That would be an example of implementing this. If there's a luncheon of the planners, or he could convene a webinar on those are all ways that this would be implemented. Brownfield might be adding this into their packet that they may share if they've got inquiries from potential developers. That would be another way that administration might implement the plan. They might have guidelines that talk about how they're going to work with the Brownfield administration on specific projects as an implementation item.
You're a lot quicker on your feet than I am. I need more caffeine.
Okay, I've got a question number 2 then. Moving on to the next. Actually, I'm going to start with my first question. Minimum of 20% of the units for housing project must be rented for less than 100% AMI to renters whose household income is less than 100% AMI. And can you all speak to why 20%? That seems low to me.
So just to clarify, you only get the credit for the units that are qualified, right? So this is the overall project, has to have them, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is more of an administrative thing. If you're building 10 units and less than 20% are under, don't qualify, if you've only got one unit that qualifies, it's just kind of a lot of work relative to the amount of project. At least my understanding is that's why it's there. We want to see the volume, and we want to encourage more of these. My understanding is that 20% came from a brownfield guidelines that they follow for their projects.
I think also setting a percentage helps include, or helps promote potential developments that are mixed income or may have a for sale housing component, where there's a mix of housing types in a particular development. So baking in that flexibility within these guidelines might help encourage some of the types of development that we want to see related to single-family housing or for sale opportunities.
But this is specifically for rental housing projects.
Right.
But it could be, we've seen projects come through where there's, the last one we looked at had a range in the 87% and 111% and 100 market rate, whatever that is. So the idea is we want to see, frankly, personally, I would like to see the number be higher.
That's what I'm getting at. 20% feels really
low.
low.
I agree.
What are we even doing?
We had a discussion about it, and this is the starting point. I think we were mitigated in our preference for stronger as a starting point. 100% is a change.
Well, 100 is better than 120,
Right.
but the minimum of 20 is what I'm having a problem
That
with.
it does, it seems like the minimum of 20 is almost irrelevant because you're not getting any tax credit for anything that's not 100% AMI. So if you want to, right, like,
Well, it's 60 to 100.
right, but under this policy, if you had, let's say you were building 100 units and you were only building, 50 of them under 100% that qualify for this policy, then only those 50 that are under 100% get the tax credit, right? While we might want to see someone build 70 or 80 or 90% under 100% AMI, we would rather see them build 20 than 0. That was the sort of consideration that we want to see these everywhere. The concern is if we make that number too high, that we scare away people from building affordable units, I think is the bottom line. Is that if the number's too high, they're not going to do any. That's the concern. There's a desire for mixed. There's a desire for some amount of high end, and okay, we'll also do some on the lower end of the income scale. And the concern we received from multiple people, and I'm happy to revisit it, but if you make that number too high, you take away the flexibility for someone to design a project where the math works, where it pencils out for them, and that's the concern. From our perspective, it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but we're not losing tax, right? Like, anything we get is better than getting 0 in that regard. If someone's building all market end, it doesn't help the goal of the 100% below 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the overall idea of, more housing is better. I think I agree with that. But I just think that I'd like to see the math on some of the recent projects because it seems like it was higher than 20% and they made it work.
Yep, and I think
So that's where I'm like, we have approved the last several and it's more than that and it works, why are we lowering it so much?
I don't think we're preventing anybody from doing a project that has 80% lower than 80% of the units meet these standards. If the math works for them to do it in order to get the tax credit, to rent it for lower prices, then I think they're going to do it. But that's just going to be a project-by-project analysis on where the equation is. Like, if I build 60 units at 110%, I can make it work. If I build 7, it's just going to be like an equation, and we don't want to create a barrier by setting you have to have at least 40%. That means you can't have more than 60% at market rate. And because we're not incentivizing the 60% that aren't getting credits, it seemed like we're not losing anything by setting it at a low number.
I think we're losing more lower AMI housing by doing this because we have seen that it works. And if I'm a developer, I'm going to make more. If it's still qualifying, then
It's not. It doesn't
It is
qualify.
qualifying.
I mean, the project qualifies, but you don't get a tax break on the 80% that are above 100%. Right?
No, I'm not talking about above 100%. I'm talking
No.
about between 60 and 100%.
Right. So item 8, funding is only available for units occupied by income qualified. So,
which for these is all 60 AMI and above.
right, but a project, right? The project has 100 apartments in it. 80 of those apartments are market rate in this analogy. Our policy says if you want the 20% that are lower than 100% AMI to get tax credits, then you qualify, as long as there are at least 20. But if there are only 15, you can't come in, we don't want to see you. We want you to put at least 20 of your 100 towards low income. If we say you have to put at least 50, there's a good chance that they'll just not do the project, because we're forcing it in more houses at a higher rate if the math doesn't work. I assume that the developer, if they want the tax credit, if the tax credit is worth it, they would do more of them.
You would think that, but the math, and the math has worked out for them to do
Right.
more. So why are we, I still think the minimum is too low, because it has worked. And you're going to allow them to come back and do fewer.
I don't think we have ever told anybody how many units, right? Like, those are, I'm going to let somebody else.
Well, Maxwell, did you want to add to that? Because you were looking into the microphone. I mean, I'll just quickly say that the return on investment is important, and everything I've ever read about pilots and TIFs for housing uses 20%. You get zoning variances with 20%. You get developers and their investors who are interested in participating in these projects because they get a return on their investment. Otherwise, and to that guy Kyle Kirkpatrick, or the guy who always talks at Housing North and at the Zoning Atlas conference, that was his number that he used as like a standard, 20% for people making less than the average median income.
So,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention, that would be something that's aligned with our guidelines for brownfield. Make mention also that these are interim guidelines, and the other item that we want to talk about today is getting a housing feasibility study done, and in the future that may inform some changes that we'd want to make to these guidelines moving forward. And we do have a great example project in our community, Live AE. I believe that they were at the 20% rate for getting access to housing TIF. And that, again, is a different housing type that, according to our community survey, for instance, our community does want to see, which is single-family opportunities. So it may help, particular projects also pencil in our area.
So when we were having this, Commissioner Walter, we had the Home Builders Association and developers and a bunch of other folks come in, and the concern was about tying their hands. And so when everybody looks at this, the first thing they think about is an apartment building. Apartment buildings are not good for the community health. It's fact. They're just an easy way to get there. Municipalities like it because they get maximum amount of taxable revenue. Anything higher than the 20%, our focus was, to Mr. Cameron's point about the community survey, we're looking for folks to build equity, being able to get into single-family homes. Anything higher than 20% put that at risk, according to the people that we
But
talked
this
to.
guideline checklist is for rental housing projects.
Well, that's how you get that. But the single-family homes are also rental projects, and might be willing to bet dollars to donuts that after their 10 years or 20 years are up, they will sell all of those homes, which I would rather see that than build an apartment complex. Because now we have an opportunity where we have invested in the health of our community, and if 10 or 15 years down the road, the developer has made their commitment to get their tax break, and they're like, okay, we rented this at a 80% AMI for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years for whatever the pilot project is, and now it's over, and now we can introduce single-family homes into the market instead of, hey, we're going to need to have 40%. Well, instead of building, if we have to have a 40% capacity for under 100% AMI, then we're not building homes. Now we're building apartment buildings, of which only corporations own. And I could take you a tour through a major metropolitan city, anyone you want, where this was happened 50 years ago. Nobody wants to live there.
I'll just say I think that 20% is a handle, right? It's a number that gets you in the door that's substantial enough on our end to be something and not too high to be a deterrent. I don't mind trying higher. As a first step, it feels like a reasonable first step to start at 20%. If somebody wants to make a motion to change that to a different number, I welcome it. If you want us to go back and evaluate some other number, that's fine. I feel like the goal here is to take a step to provide guidance where there is none, and 20% was presented to us, and we bantered back and forth about different ways to do it and settled on that as a starting point. Happy to consider something else.
And to that point, that's exactly when we discussed this, was it last week? When we
I
were
feel like
at
we've
the ad hoc?
discussed it a lot of times.
No, but before we brought the proposal here, when the ad hoc voted to bring it to this
28.
board, we were like, it's not perfect. If you'll notice on part 2 here, excuse me, part 3, that we're going to have, we would like to have a study done to look at several of these things. And when that study comes back, it may very well just totally change the whole makeup of this document. But we felt like after meeting 5 or 6 times that we should probably bring something to the board and say, it's a living document, we can change it. But to Mr. Cameron's point, the 20% is part of the BRA, and we felt that so is 120% AMI. And so we were like, well, I'll take the 20% because I don't care about the 20%, but I care about the 100%.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we were at with that.
Well, I care about both of them, but, okay, I've got a few more questions. But I would like to, it'd be good to see, and I know you guys discussed it and you saw it, but to see some of the numbers behind that 20%. So that, because it, although it's coming from Brownfield and some other places, it would be good for us to see more of the breakdown.
I mean, what we could do, and frankly, what our item 3 is to say that in, say, the last 5 years of the projects we have approved or that have been approved, X many, that, you know, it was 100 units, how many were of each different levels. I think the challenge we see is that we've never had a 100% cap. We've always had 120%, and most of our projects have been in that. So you wouldn't be able to look back and say, what happened? The sample size is too small. I think looking in other communities is probably challenging, and we're not going to know, because this is an experiment. If we adopt it too high, we may not have any, you know, the concern is, do we inadvertently stop the pipe by setting it too high? We just don't know, right? This is a prediction of the future. We've got to use some judgment.
Well, you are taking 20% off the top and 20% off the bottom. So
Yep.
it's kind of like a 40% swing if you want to use some simple math.
Well, and to Commissioner Walter's point, Mr. Cameron and Mr. Forsythe and myself, we're all BRA and land bank, and we've already seen the presentation and the talk, and you have not. So when the project that Mr. Cameron was talking about, we asked those questions, and it's like, this is the number we have to do to be economically viable to do it. If we can't meet this number, then we can't do it. Again, that was a single-family homes project. But to be fair, we didn't bring those numbers, but, so we're going by what we know from somewhere else. It's a matter of public record, but we didn't bring it with us. So that's fair to ask that question. And we should probably adjust that.
I mean, one option going forward is, let's say we adopt a policy. I mean, the concern is it's taken us years to get here. And, you know, we don't want to spend another year before we even have something on the books. I think projects are going to happen, and we're going to be in the same position we've been in, which is see it the day it's presented to us as a done deal. One option is that we could try to come up with some language where there's a sliding scale with more ranges and higher AMIs, higher percentages or lower AMIs. I think the challenge we have is we have never stepped foot in the swimming pool before, and now to try to jump into the deep end and try to make a tailored, nuanced policy that we don't have any experience executing at all.
Well, but we do have projects that have come to us, so it's not like we haven't seen projects that have penciled out at different levels.
But I'm not sure what looking at past projects would tell us about the 20% AMI.
Well,
I mean,
it
the
tells us
20%
there,
rate.
well, what I'm getting at is that we have seen projects and we know what the breakdown has been in the past.
But how?
But that's
and
at
it has penciled
120% though.
Right, that's at
a different
120%,
game.
and they have a variety of ranges that at each level, and they're project-specific. So, and frankly, we don't see any projects that have 0% low income, right? By definition.
Right, by definition, we only
don't-
see the projects that come to us that are 60 and
Right.
above. Yeah.
So
80.
I'm happy to look back on the last 10 projects, and it may well show that on the last 10 projects, 40 or more % were qualified, but they were qualified at 120%. So I'm not sure that that tells us anything about what happens at 100%, right?
But it would
Yeah.
be nice that now that we're here to actually get it right instead of just implement it, so it'd be nice to have it dialed in, whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean,
you
I'd
know?
like to see the pro forma instead of them saying, we can't do it, doesn't pencil out. Like, show me.
So maybe the
says, "Show me the money."
implementation can involve guidance from administration that ensures that they justify their ratios and provide that information. I mean, the problem is we don't have a seat at the table unless we have something from this board that sends our administration to that table. So we got to start somewhere. I think that Chris has heard loud and clear, administration has heard loud and clear that we have a strong preference for more. I think they heard it from our committee. I think they're hearing it from today again. We are happy to convey that message. I'm not sure what that does to the policy in front of us today.
I believe that number 10 probably can encompass that.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want to do that, show me the pro forma.
Yeah.
Show me your figures. It's like, it's that simple. It's like, if you want to be a part of this, I mean, some of this, I agree that I think we should have something, even though if we're going to change it in 90 days. We've been talking about it for a while. There's still more projects coming. We still have a housing need. But a lot of those kind of questions that you have will be answered after we do a study.
Right.
And
And
maybe it's more beneficial for us, is the will of the board. We wait to have our study done, make that a priority, then come back and readdress this. Me personally, I'd like to start with something because we can always change it.
Yeah, and
And we will.
I get that it's interim, and I don't think we need to necessarily hold this up and wait for that study. The study can help inform it, which leads me to the second one, the rent study. Is that different from MISHDA's information that they provide? Is that information that people would glean from, again, it feels like general and subjective, but is that like pointing to the study that we're going to get back? Like, what does that mean?
It's, as part of an application for a project, the developer would have to provide a rent study that shows specific to their project a market feasibility analysis.
Yeah, it's site-specific, so the example is you're building in Garfield Township in a particular area, you have to give a study to that area, that you can't just give a general regional study or even countywide study. You have to give specific data related to the site that you're selecting to do the project.
It is intended to avoid the situation we've seen in the last 10 projects where everyone cites to the 2023 Housing Needs Assessment, which shows an enormous need. This would then tailor it to this project in this site.
Well, and a couple of other things. The AMI is brought down to 100%. In addition to that, the mission numbers are, quite frankly, in my opinion, outrageous. They're way, I'm like, this is not downtown Royal Oak. And I think they're way out of line, and we've heard that time and time again. Not from the developers, but from the people who are trying to live there. And so when we go forward with part 2 here, we're like, to Mr. Forsythe, Mr. Cameron's credit, they're like, hey, we need to look at what we do here. And it's like, quite frankly, you can be downtown Traverse City, and I can be downtown Kingsley, and there's a 30% difference, 40% difference. It is, so it's not fair. It's not fair to the people that are funding it, meaning the taxpayers, that we're paying Traverse City rates for Kingsley development.
We have seen some projects do this. Brownfield has started requiring this of their projects as well.
Okay.
So it's not a hard thing to do. It's a pretty standardized thing if you're a developer investing in a project to hire somebody to do a feasibility study for you. And we want to be able to access that and get a copy of that in our review as well.
Okay, that makes sense. And then the short-term rental piece, this, of course, is already covered under the pilot resolution. So this would just also apply to TIFs. Is that what's in here? And then you know, some municipalities, I know it says here, compliance with all local zoning. Some municipalities allow like 30-day rentals. That's still, like, do we need to be more specific about that? Is that okay? Are you okay with that? Like, what's?
I think short-term rentals has become a term of art, a defined term. It means less than 30-day rentals. Is my understanding of it from the case law. So I don't know that we need a specific definition, but I think that's also something that the implementation paragraph would cover.
The what?
The implementation, if we need to see a more precise definition. And if a township does allow short-term rentals, this project would not. That's the goal here.
Great, okay. And then, okay, we talked about that, or we talked about that. Okay, my other questions are coming later.
Keep on, keeping on.
Well, there are other pieces of it. I mean, it's the other pieces of this agenda item.
Can I step in? Because
Please.
we just kind of hit on a few things that I think support why we're doing this. I support that our board is digging deep into finding solutions for affordable and workforce housing for our residents. But historically, developers have always presented to planning commissions at the township level, and the townships take care of it. So what are like the top reasons that we as a board are stepping into an area that's usually taken care of by the township?
I strongly disagree. Every single tax abatement project comes to this board.
Yeah, because we're talking about TIF and pilots right now, not every housing project that happens.
We're only talking about projects where they do not pay the full amount of taxes into the coffers that everyone else pays.
They're asking us for a tax exemption, and so that's why we see them. Otherwise, we don't see any, we don't see 99% of projects that go through the community unless they're asking us for help with the tax abatement.
Unless they're asking for taxpayer dollars to help them in their development to be successful. Whether it's a TIF, brownfield, pilot, doesn't matter, they all come to us.
So
We're
been
representing the
here
taxpayers.
for a year, and I haven't seen anything come before us. that I'm aware
Yeah,
of.
we have.
We
Yep.
had one, we've had a couple, the schoolhouse across the street, when was that? That was,
East
we've
Bay
had.
was last week.
I think we've had at least 8 come before us since I've been here, and
We had
they
a
haven't
couple
all
last
been.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last project that you guys looked at was, would that have been Crimson in East Bay?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, I remember.
Where it had the different delineations out it had like 4 different AMI ranges in it, sound
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
believe
yes,
so.
okay.
Yeah, and the one
Thank you.
over by the Old Toms, is that what you're talking about?
Yep, and didn't we see
Acme.
Yeah, we saw that one
Yeah,
too.
the old Kmart one.
Yeah.
Old times.
Oh, yeah. That area. So we don't see, it's just up to them. If they want to come to us for a tax abatement, then this gives us some control over whether we do that or not.
Thank you, okay.
I think it's going to be your show, Commissioner Walder. Anybody else have any questions? Is that where we're at? Going to continue on, Mr. Cameron?
I'm going
Oh.
to make a motion.
I've seen your hand go like this.
I'm going to run it up the flagpole. I'm going to make a motion that the board adopt the interim guideline checklist for rental housing projects involving tax increment financing or pilots.
Support.
Fantastic. We have a motion by Commissioner Andrews. I'm going to give it to Commissioner Morris as support that we approve number 1 as presented. Any more comments, questions, or concerns?
She's in.
I'm going to vote against this only because that I'm still not convinced of the minimum of 20% without more information, but it doesn't sound like you need my vote for this at this point, but that's still a sticking point for me.
Fair enough. Anyone else? I guess, Mr. Gavin, we're going to do a roll call vote on that, please.
Certainly. Walter?
No.
Spence?
Yes,
Henschel?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Morris?
yes.
McAllister?
Yes.
Flynn?
Yes.
Seifert?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. So we'll move on to number 2. I think Mr. Forsythe started covering this already,
Yeah,
or Mr. Cameron, I
as
don't
we,
care which.
as we talked about, item 2 is an amendment to the policy you adopted at the end of 2023. When the time is right to make the motion, the only thing I'd like to add is that we need legal review to form. It may not be in this proper form. The substance is correct, but we just want to make sure that Matt and his team gets eyes on this.
So your suggestion is that if a motion is made to approve the resolution, it be subject to legal review?
Correct.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this one?
I just want to say I'm happy with the change to reducing it from 120%. And I know that was, in the past, that always felt too high to me that we were supporting that. So I appreciate this change. It'll be interesting to see how it changes the projects that come to us. So I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the amended resolution in substance with form to be approved by the attorney.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Walter, a second by Commissioner McAllister, approve number 2, subject to legal review and approval. Any more comments, questions, concerns? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Fantastic. Moving on to 8A3.
I get plenty of attention.
So, housing market feasibility analysis. We kind of made reference to this in conversations today. Mr. Cameron, Mr. Forsyth, any things you'd like to add right off the top?
Just that in the agenda item, we included a draft scope of work for housing feasibility analysis and assessment. And this is based upon two things that we know. We know that out there's a 2023 housing needs assessment report that tells us that we are short X number of units to meet our housing need in the future. We also know that a number of developers have taken advantage of the HTIF tool over the last number of years, and we want to make informed choices and policies moving forward on what types of projects that we support. And the way to do that is to take what has happened in that period of time between our last needs assessment and the approvals and projects that have moved forward, and give us a baseline of where we are, make some projections as to the number of units that we expect to come online in the next number of years, and then for consultant to also give us recommendations as far as meeting that updated housing need. So that's what's sort of captured in this scope of work. If we get approval or get approval of changes today, we can move forward on getting this out for bid relatively soon.
Commissioner Walter.
I think this is great. I'm glad this is happening to get us some up-to-date information. I'm trying to square the first paragraph that's looking for an analysis of for rent and for sale housing options for 60 to 120%. I think it should be area median, not medium income.
Mm-hmm.
And then down below, the feasibility looks at local housing market conditions in 60 to 120 and 0 to 60. I would like to see that. I think we should see all of it because although we just approved the interim guidelines for 60 to 100. So if we can change that first paragraph to complete an analysis of 0 to 120 to be more inclusive of that, I'd like to see that change.
I agree with you. I think I don't want this document to limit the scope of the analysis. I don't know that we would even stop at 120. I think having some assessment of market rate conditions is also useful, and I believe the 2023 study looked at market conditions as well, right? Like, if we've got a whole bunch of $1 million houses, that's informative for us to know as well. So I wouldn't want the scope of the study to be limited by AMI. I think we're trying to, so this is just to get a consultant. I think what the study itself, I think you're hearing from us, and I think you heard it from the committee, we want a big picture specific to this community, which is something we've never had, right? So I agree with you, Commissioner Walter. It should not be limited to 60 to 120. And if that's giving a message to whoever responds to this, that's what we're looking for, they shouldn't have that message.
So we'd probably more read like 0 to 120% AMI or market rate, whichever is higher.
It says inclusive of market rate
Yeah.
before the parentheses. Am I mistaking something?
I wouldn't, this is not my favorite scope of work, but I also want to give staff some discretion to hear what we want to see in the study and move something forward. And so I agree with you, broad, across the board, and make sure we don't limit it inadvertently or intentionally with words. And I also want to point to, buried under local housing market conditions, the last one, housing development analysis, under
I.
the double I, the analysis of completed housing projects. I would make that its own bullet point, because to me, it's really critical for this board to evaluate the projects we have already approved and that were approved by others. We owe it to look back, right, to evaluate what we've already done and see if we've moved the needle, where we've moved the needle, what got built, what didn't get built, what housing prices were in fact being implemented, how much, are they, we've got to have a look back as well. So I just would move that bullet point up to a much higher level in the outline. And not just for how they meet the needs, but for a complete evaluation of what was built, what was approved, what the rates were, what the needs were met, what their occupancy rates are.
Yeah. And then the part of that too, back to the AI, housing look under local housing market conditions, which you were just referencing. It says under A and then I, data regarding workforce housing projects that have been completed in the last 5 years. I'd like to expand that to include affordable housing projects as well.
Yes,
Sure.
good point.
So maybe put this under local housing market conditions, the third bullet point, a housing development analysis, that gets the white haloed bullet like the larger ones.
Well, instead of saying affordable or workforce, what would you just say subsidized housing developments?
I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't want to get a full picture of the housing conditions in the county, including broken out at every.
Yeah, not just subsidized. There's
Right.
some that
So
aren't.
just say housing projects.
I don't want to tell anyone how to write an outline. This one is not. This one is very challenging to discuss as a group because it doesn't have letters and numbers.
So, and also on that, if there's other things, I want to see short-term rentals delineated out, spoken specifically. I hear two different numbers about short-term rentals. I want to know how many there are. I want to know if they're owner-occupied or if they're an empty house. I want to know what zoning they're in. Are they in a residential district? Are they in a commercial district? Are they in a development district or a hotel district? I want to know all of that. That should be part of any study that we're talking about housing. It's room. I'm not even going to speculate how many we have, but I do know people that live next to ones that they're only used for short-term rentals, and they're in residential districts. So you're not going to have a conversation about affordable housing or any housing if you're not talking about short-term rentals, whether they're subsidized by us or not.
Given the number of pieces that we're looking at, I wonder if we would like to include as a condition or as a scope of work, an understanding to whoever responds that there's going to be an expectation of a presentation to the board early on, that we can have an understanding of what they're looking at, or presentation. I think we're going to want to see some of this information as it's being developed. I don't think this board is going to want to see a final project, a final study, and, right? I think we're going to want to have some input
Yeah.
on this as it goes forward, including someone who's standing up and answering all of our questions about.
We could,
what was looked
we
at.
could include that in the RFP, Maxwell, that just says you are going to provide a presentation to our Board of Commissioners, whether that's post-selection or pre-selection, you're going to provide a report to the board to discuss options for the scope.
Yeah, I just don't want to surprise somebody. That may be important to some people to know that that's our expectation. Just given that it's a public meeting with cameras and.
Right, might as well have more information.
They may be able to tell you what's realistic and what is not.
Right.
And how to get there.
Chair Seifert, to your point about short-term, I mean, if we're going there, there's all sorts of other market complexities, and I'm not sure where to stop, because then you think of, like, there's second homes that aren't rented out. There's homes that are only filled for a half of the year. There's, like, at what point, you know, how much of that are we including in this discussion of housing market analysis? It gets very nuanced.
Well, second homes, that if I own two houses, that's not a house that's available for rent because it's my house. If I'm buying a house for the express purpose of renting it out, where I'm importing people into my community, this community, our community, and they're using our infrastructure, they're doing this and they're doing that, I'm not paying any extra for infrastructure. I'm not paying a hotel tax. I'm not paying commercial tax rates. I just don't get a school exemption, assuming that somebody's doing their job at the township level. One time it was rumored there's 6,000 short-term rentals in this county. I could think of 3 or 4 that are not in commercial districts. So why are we allowing a commercial entity that's not owner-occupied when it should be something that's in a housing market? You talk about something that drives the market, about how expensive land is. And it's like, well, it's tough to compete. I don't own a hotel, but I own a house. My house isn't making me any rental income, but if I can afford to own a house and run it like a hotel, like a lot of people do, $1,000 a week, all of a sudden that becomes a de facto commercial property. I think we should, before we start spending taxpayer dollars, the taxpayers are already subsidizing short-term rentals that are not owner-occupied. We should be looking at that.
But it sounds like you're narrowing in on short-term rentals, but leaving out midterm and long-term rentals, which all have all the same issues you're talking about. They're for-profit. Corporations invest in long-term and.
But I believe the long-term rentals are already covered in the proposal.
I mean, I think we're looking at housing, so, and I believe the one that Housing North did looked at structures and then identified within the number of structures, how were they owner occupied, were they rented, were they second home, were they short-term, how were they occupied as a separate question than the building itself. So I don't know how we wouldn't have all of the structures, and of all the structures, how many are in these categories?
Okay, maybe we just need to,
Very true.
if we want that information, just similar to that, we just need to be more explicit in here, like use of, which is kind of in the demographic, I don't know.
It's kind of
maybe to be a
alluded to.
little more explicit with that, use of.
Yeah, I would be curious how many
Structure.
don't have the homestead exemption, because that means it's not owner-occupied.
That would be interesting as well.
It's some kind of rental or a commercial investment or something.
Well, we do get asked all the time with our real estate, over on Green Lake or whatever, hey, if I buy this, they're only going to be here maybe a month in the summer. Hey, can I rent it out the rest of the time, or can I use it for a short-term rental, or September through June or whatever? They might want to use it in the month of July for their family, but can they subsidize it and get it paid for and rent it out the rest of the time? I mean, it happens almost
Sure.
weekly.
That is mostly what the short-term rentals are.
Sometimes.
Mr. Cameron,
On
do
the
you have
residential
a
part, on the
a
lake part,
sense
it's
of-
September through May. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Is it's a 9-month rental. Considered residential.
Do you have a sense of what the board is interested in seeing?
Yeah, these are all great comments. We'll incorporate the changes into the scope of work.
I'll make a motion that we approve the scope of work for administration to execute.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Andrews, second by Commissioner McAllister.
And I'm going to amend my own motion.
Can't do that.
To incorporate the comments today. No, I don't want to give the impression that this document in front of us is what you have approval for. You have approval to amend as needed in the letter and spirit of today's conversation.
I resecond it.
Are we going to see that again before it goes out?
I would say put the RFP out, but before you sign a contract, you might want to let the board know. I don't know. It's up, I don't want to micro,
Well, they could bring back the RFP when they're done, and we can look at it and say, yep, that's what we're talking about. I mean,
can go on consent.
couple weeks, right?
We'll just put it on consent.
Yeah, I would like to, because there was a lot of
There-
discussion.
Fair enough.
You can just put it on consent, and anyone can pull it.
So let's start all over
Okay,
again.
I'm gonna-
Make a new motion, please.
I'm going to make a new motion. I move that we direct administration to present a revised statement of work for approval to the board to reflect the discussion and changes today.
Second.
I resecond my second.
All right.
Henschel, cut it out.
I just wanted to mix it up.
You're stealing my thunder, man.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Andrews, second by Commissioner McAllister. Are you clear on that motion, Mr. Gedman?
Well, yeah, we'll give it a go.
Listen to the minutes.
All right, all those, any more comments, questions, concerns?
That's enough.
Everyone, geez. All those saying yes, say aye.
Aye.
Saying no, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's take a 10-minute break, everyone.
Thank you. That was a great discussion.
Thank you. I needed, I was forgetting too much water.
We're down there.
pursuant this year.
Purple tag, right? Purple tag?
There's a sticker on the device that shows when it's going to be replaced. I don't know if you like these or don't. I know that there have been challenges with some of these devices. They have air cards in them. I don't know that you want or need air cards. So we are going to replace these computers pursuant to our policy unless this board says otherwise. And it can be anything from a collective decision to an individual decision. We want to best serve you and comply with the Evergreen strategy. So when we talked about it at the agenda setting committee, it was just agreed to have this conversation now so we get a general feel for what you would like to do with the devices that you're using.
Commissioner Henschel.
Thanks, Nate. Cliff, how many devices do we have countywide that are incompatible with Windows 11 and haven't seen a security update since last October?
So, great question. Cliff Dupuy, IT. We have eliminated, or we have replaced all of the machines that are non-Windows 11 compliant, because Windows 10 support ended in October. The support ended, the updates ended, so all of our machines now are Windows 11 compliant.
Well done. Thank you.
That's a staff. It's not me, it's a staff.
Yeah. It's a good policy, just viruses and, loopholes come out in technology and they're found over time, and we just got to keep up with it. So I personally, as a techie enthusiast, highly recommend everybody get your updates, get your upgrades.
Yeah, the challenge is when I first got here, we didn't have a plan. So what would happen was, one year we might replace 1,000 computers, or 100, I'm exaggerating. We might replace 200 computers, and the next year it would be 100 computers. And what happens is you get the secular, so you hit the budget high some years and low some years. So when you get to an evergreen strategy, you have a set number of machines, and we went to the colored tags. I've used that in the past, because what we used to get was someone would call and say, hey, my computer's running slow, I need a new one. We look it up, it's 8 months old. And so that's why the color tags, we alternate those colors every year, and been doing that for quite a while. So I would recommend that we stick to the evergreen. If you're up for a renewal, I would suggest you get one. We do recycle all of the old devices. The hard drives get actually erased and then shredded, like a piece of paper gets shredded. And we track those serial numbers in case that ever comes back to us.
Commissioner Walter.
I'm not a super techie like Commissioner Henschel, but I have had battery issues, and my battery was replaced, but I believe some other people have had issues too. So I would look to your expert recommendation on what would maybe be better for our use.
Absolutely.
I don't develop a lot of documents on here. I don't need a lot of space.
Horsepower, yep.
Yeah. I kind of use another computer for that kind of work. It's mostly email and packets and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So other than that, I really don't have a preference.
Okay.
If that's what you're asking for today.
That's great. And we do get a 3-year warranty, cradle to grave, so basically that impacts if you break the screen or whatever. Even though we keep them for 4 years, what we determined was that 1 year, the cost for an additional 1 year was far outweighed what our repair costs are for getting it. So we're basically at 1 year. We have not had a lot of issues with the Dells. I mean, we have individual, but collectively as an enterprise, we haven't. So that's why we only do the 3 year, but we rotate them every 4.
Well, I believe that an elected official should lead by example, so I'm gonna stick with your policy. Whoever's eligible, get with Cliff and email him, and he'll delineate out him and his staff, and we'll move ahead. I know I'm eligible. It's whoever's purple.
I think we're all eligible.
Green.
Green.
Well, no, there's green and purple. Are you looking at the
Green and
white
purple?
sticker or the round sticker?
What are we looking at?
You're looking at the one,
this
he's
one right
right
here.
there, the purple. You got purple.
The purple tag.
Yeah.
Okay. I was looking at the green. I don't have.
The green
I
stickers.
know, I was
The green
wondering-
sticker, the green sticker is when we had the event, and that's when we had to put that piece of software on there that we can monitor your devices, so they get monitored 24 hours a day, and we just never took the green stickers off. That's all that meant.
And that's the end.
That was a visual for us to let us know which machines we touched and which ones we didn't.
So decision-making options are, do you like the rugged nature of what you have? I'm assuming that you have the, because these are what we, in terms of staff, have. These come with air cards as well, correct?
Yep,
So if you
yep.
choose to have something lighter, not as thick, with a more rigid keyboard, you could do that and still have an air card. And you have these devices that are tablet-ish, but not, they're actually computers, correct? But they have a funky keyboard and, I don't,
Yeah, that is kind of cruddy on these. The keyboard is pretty bad. So maybe if there's something.
I'll work with Ms. Church. She is very intimate with the Dell folks. She talks to them a lot, and she knows the things, and so I would defer to her, and I think she's already started specking those out. We had that discussion. I would recommend every one of you get an air card because you're out and about, and you go to different meetings, you do the presentations, you're all over the place versus trying to carry a device and do a hotspot and everything else. You just turn it on, you're there.
Thank you. That's good. I do have a problem putting this on a laptop. Like, I have another display at home I can plug this into. I cannot put this up on the shelf. That's for a laptop. So I'd concur that, is it you, Commissioner Walter, said you didn't like how this is? I don't really like how this is. This tablet-ish.
Sweet.
It is a tablet. That's exactly what it is, yep. This was a step up from the iPad, so this was our first generation to you folks, and now we'll move on to generation 2.
Sounds good, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we're going to move on to 8C, Boards and Committees Meeting Minutes Discussion. I think you referred to this, Commissioner Andrews, earlier today.
So much for not talking much today.
Only you believe that.
So I sent an email that had a little more context for this, and I wasn't clear to include the email in the packet, so I forwarded that this morning. I have observed, and I know others have observed, that our packets include a variety of minutes of different board meetings, but it's not clear. We're not getting everything, right? There are boards that we appoint people to who meet regularly, who spend special millages or otherwise are publicly funded, or at least they're boards that we have an interest in because that's why we appoint people to them. And my feeling is that we should, getting the minutes on receive in our packet is an easy way for them all to be in one place. It's passive notice, right? Like, you have the opportunity if you want to read it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But at least it's available, and it could also sort of streamline, not that we do a lot of reports from the boards that we sit on, but it would help see just give us a little visibility. And I think it's interesting when we get those meeting minutes from other groups to at least skim through and see what they're looking at.
And it creates a centralized public record for the whole community. It's like one source for everything. But like you said, we don't get absolutely everything.
There's quite a few things I don't think we get, like, not to pick on Commissioner Walter, but I've never seen a Commission on Aging. I know you guys meet.
Yeah,
So,
just met yesterday.
right? So, and that's a millage-funded organization. We've talked about Veterans Affairs. I know they meet. They're also, it just seems like it's a layer of transparency that's easy to do. It's not asking anybody except Lisa, frankly. I apologize.
Sorry, Lisa.
Sorry, Lisa. To make sure that people understand that we want to see those, and that it's just for transparency purposes. So that's
How deep would you go?
What's that?
I mean, you could get all the townships, but then they have their zoning boards, and
Yeah,
how far do you want to go with?
We don't appoint, I think if we appoint someone to a board,
Yeah.
that's as far as I think we need to go. Whether it's one of us or whether it's, are there boards or we appoint people who we don't sit on as well? I'm trying to think.
Big library, and
That's true, library's a good one, yep.
And we get their minutes.
And we get their minutes.
We do.
And you have the Area Agency on Aging, which isn't a subunit of our government, but in their bylaws, we appoint the people.
We do?
Yeah.
We need to.
Yeah, I mean, I
Oh, yeah.
think,
Well, Mr. Alger made the point that we do appoint people to Tattle. So any board or organization that we're appointing people to, they need to be sending us meeting minutes.
so I think what I asked, just to clarify, there are boards that we appoint people to, that someone on this board, like DHHS and Pavilions, Commissioner Morris and I go to those meetings, and we appoint 2 of the 3 board members. There are also boards, as Commissioner Flynn pointed out, where we appoint someone, but none of us are the delegated representative. The road commission is a little, it's not official. I think it's not a seat at the table. Tattle, I don't think anybody is appointed to go to Tattle meetings.
Yep,
So,
they sure are.
No,
Oh, not
not
as a
one of us.
commissioner.
Not as,
Commissioner.
we don't have like a liaison. or
right, we don't
anything.
have a
Correct.
liaison, we don't have a seat on those boards. So that's the extent of this request. If we appoint, we get minutes.
Clarification.
Yep,
Do you want their approved minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so after, so you're getting them a month after.
Just add us to the email chain, that's all we're asking,
Approved.
when you send out the.
don't want draft. There's no reason to distribute erroneous minutes, draft minutes.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially erroneous.
So you can always ask for something.
Yeah, they're not required necessarily.
They're
but-
precisely. So I guess I want to manage that discussion a little bit.
I'm going to make a motion
That's what I was hoping you would do. And
that can cover for anyone who is questioning who this is coming from. I think
Certainly.
it should come from us as a board.
I think
Concur.
the expectation is from this board to a board that you have appointed to, that they send the minutes to us.
Yep.
And that Lisa is not going to be responsible for, checking and nagging and pulling teeth to get them to send us minutes. It will be a simple report that they didn't get the minutes.
I think we can do better. I mean, this is in the public interest. This isn't just us wanting to get our way, but if someone doesn't send requested minutes, file a FOIA.
Oh.
It's the law, they have to. It's a public document.
And if there are boards that we are appointing people to
Yeah.
You have a big
who will not send us their approved
That's a
minutes,
concern,
I
yeah.
have a few questions.
Yeah. That's why I was hoping for the motion. So it's not an
Yes.
administrative request. There's some teeth behind it to say you will send the minutes or else. I'm not sure what or else is yet, but we'll figure it out.
I have a plan.
The or else will be a board or else, right? Not an administration.
Is that a motion?
Send them or else. Second.
I'm going to make the motion. I'm going to make the motion that we request all boards to whom the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners appoints representatives to send as a matter of course their approved minutes within a month following the approval.
Support.
Just to clarify, to be included in our regular board packets.
Friendly amendment to be included in receive and file on consent.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is 30 days soon enough, or you want to see it, you don't want to see it?
They're not, they're usually, minutes are approved a month, usually later. and
What she said, this motion is 30 days after the minutes have been approved.
Yeah.
So
We'll
they're
get them
going to be.
Up to 90 days old.
Could
Yeah,
be.
they could be, because some groups don't meet, they meet every couple months, or they meet once a year.
Let's start with that, and we'll go
But
from there.
it's better than what we have now, so.
100%. So we have a motion with Commissioner Andrews, and I'm sorry, who supported that? My apologies.
I supported it.
Commissioner Spence supported, that any board that we appoint a member to, that we get approved, meeting minutes sent to our consent calendar within 30 days after their approval. Any more comments, questions, or concerns?
May I,
Mr. Elder?
any commissioner, we have roughly 22 boards listed on our boards page. Is there any representation appointed outside of those 22 that you're aware? I can't think of any offhand. I just don't want to miss one.
Just take all the
Should we
board
just go
minutes for the
through
last
them
2 years,
briefly?
throw it in AI. Look
Yeah,
for the
there are,
appointments.
like, the library.
Tattle's on here.
That's funny.
No, it's not.
Traverse Area
Pretty easy
District
these
Library
days.
Board.
Where?
Way bottom.
Under, are you looking at?
Are we looking at,
C? 8C?
Nate, are you looking at the attachment, or are you looking at our website?
I'm looking at our website.
Oh, I was just looking
Boards,
at the
commissions, and
attachment.
committees.
So, we
No,
need,
I'm not. On the list, Tattle's not on there.
Tattle's not on the
But this is a
list.
list for commissioners that are appointed.
Yeah.
So Tattle would be included in that list.
Yep.
As would the Board of Canvassers.
Yep. I think what
Okay,
else?
understood.
What's the
Yeah.
hospital finance?
Hospital Finance Authority
Hospital Finance.
meets twice a
Trying to think
decade.
of all the ones that we have every
there's,
year.
there are many boards that rarely meet, or not many,
Farmland.
but some boards. Farmland preservation hasn't met since 2017.
Begs the question, with the lawyer in the room, don't you have to have an annual meeting technically to be an entity?
We have to have an annual meeting.
Okay.
I don't know. These are unique.
What about like building authority?
Some of these are statutory that exist
Yeah.
on demand, like
Building,
appeals and, yeah, like building.
well, that
authority.
is a different, that should be on here, I think, building authority.
Yep.
Although they're going to be reporting to us anyway, but
Yep, monthly.
I'm thinking, are there other ones like that that aren't,
The Building Code of Appeals, I mean, there are,
they're on here though?
yep.
I would like, just as a, oh, we've got a motion. Did we vote?
We do not. We're discussing the motion.
Rhea?
So are you done?
I had something else, so.
Separate? All right. No more comments, questions, concerns. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you. Commissioner Andrews.
So this is a minor point, but in the email that I distributed, on the website, there's, the website should reflect every board that we appoint to and all of the board positions, whether we appoint them or not. Some of them have, like Tattle, right? We appoint some, the city appoints some. I think airport, we appoint some, Leelanau appoints some. Doesn't matter who appoints them, the public should have one place that they can go and see everyone who's on that board, irrespective of whether we approve them or somebody else, appointed them or somebody else appointed them.
Well, usually like for Tattle, it's on the Tattle website with
But-
everybody.
But
So
we have sort of a partial list, and if you don't know better, you'll go on there and you'll see, oh, there's this many people on that board, and you're looking at all the boards, and you don't understand that there are other people also, but some of them do, right? It's not consistent. It's not a pressing issue, obviously, but it does seem like in the interest of transparency, having one place where all of them are.
Is that Novum that works with our website that could possibly do that?
Novum?
Yeah.
Well, they don't make those kind of updates, do
It's
they?
the administrative task of maybe 3-4 times a year going onto the website, who's their current board, make sure ours is up to date. And, put it on the calendar and just do it every quarter. Who's on your
Yep.
board? Who's appointed by whom? Who's the Leelanau representative? Who's the Grand Traverse representative? I think that'd be great. I've always pushed for more of that, so I appreciate it. We can put it right on our admin page in our appointments section. It's a little bit of busy work a few times a year, but I think it's worth it for the public interest to,
Could they just link, let's use Tattle as an example, could our county website manager link to Tattle's website to then have that information? It would be more up to date that way.
We have a page on our website where we've got all of the people we appoint, when they were appointed, when their terms expire for each board. It's very comprehensive. A lot of work was done by administration to clean that up. Lisa does a good job of keeping it up to date. The request is simply to make sure that all members of all boards are on there. It's going to be challenging, right, if the city reappoints someone and we don't know about it. But we can set the expectation and hopefully it can be.
I agree with having the link to their page, but I wouldn't count on other entities' web pages to be up to date or even up sometimes.
Correct.
You're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So we should probably endeavor to do both.
Yep.
It's like, whatever board it is, these are the people that are on it, this is who appointed them, this is their term, here's a link for more information.
Maybe a disclaimer, we do our best to keep this up to date. If you find something out of date, let us know.
There you go.
Yep.
I like it.
And at your own risk.
Any questions about that? No. Beautiful. All right. Any more comments?
Well, it's kind of related.
It's kind of what?
It's kind of related.
Bring it.
This is about other reports to us. It feels inconsistent. Some entities give us their annual reports and come with a presentation, and some don't, and yet I think they're required to annually. So, and I'm thinking of other, especially other elected offices. Like I think the Drain Commissioner, for example, I think that all are supposed to give us an annual report, and we haven't gotten one in a long time. But other entities, like, we do. So I would like to see a calendar of when those other elected offices,
There you go.
departments, are coming to give us an annual report, because they're supposed to.
Treasurer is an example.
Yeah, I mean, all of
They're
them,
due.
treasurer, clerk,
Register of Deeds, drain commissioner,
prosecutor.
prosecutor.
All of those departments are supposed to give us an annual report.
Mr. Norfjord, are you on? Can you hear me?
He's there.
He's sleeping.
Is there would it take much to get a list of all the statutorily required entities that are supposed to give annual reports to the board? I believe there are a number of those, aren't there? Or some of them?
Yes, there are. We can work with administration on that.
Yeah.
But beyond the statutory requirement, like there may be some offices that aren't required, but I would like to kindly request that they give us an annual report if they're not required.
Yeah, I think there's two, right? Like the report is a document that identifies specific things, like if you spend tax dollars, what you spent it on, how much is left, those sorts of things. And then there are some that we just like to hear from, like MSUE, right?
They are required with our contract to give us an annual report, though.
True, but they're not getting, right, so they may not be statutory, but to your
But
point,
it's-
that's a good
There's
example.
something else that's not statutory, but we have it in our, somewhere that they're supposed to do that.
Yeah, Conservation District as well.
Yeah.
They may be statutory. I don't know. It would be
There.
it would be helpful to get some information on.
Who is it?
Yeah,
Who is
tell
it?
us the good stuff you've been up to. I think it's a great public benefit and outside of the requirement. Do you need a motion for that?
I don't think so, but you can if you want. Compile a list of who should be giving us annual reports statutorily, and just people that are involved with spending tax dollars.
And when we might see them.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, but I don't believe we voted on the last motion
Which was?
that was on the floor to,
Yes, we did. We did.
did we? I
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah, we
Unanimous.
cleared, we
Thank you.
moved on after that.
I apologize.
Sorry, that's all right.
It was
Good to
unanimous.
ask.
Wonderful.
Motion carried. So how about the board requests, this is a motion. The board requests administration compile a list of statutorily, contractually, or otherwise required or preferred annual reports for the board to review, as well as a proposed timeline for receipt in 2026.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Andrews, support by Commissioner Henschel. Got that, Mr. Gedman?
I certainly do. Yep.
All right, fantastic. Any more comments, questions, concerns? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Thank you, everyone. All right. Anything else? Let's move right along. Unfinished business, new business, nothing, I'm guessing, from the silence. Commissioner administration reports. I'll go around the room. Commissioner Henschel, you got anything?
Nothing worthy of bringing up.
Oh, fantastic. Commissioner Flynn.
I do not have anything at the moment.
Commissioner McAllister.
Yep, it's like Christmas in Green Lake Township. We're getting a roundabout this summer.
Oh.
It's going to be great. It's just going to devastate our community. Won't be a bad thing. We're just going to close us down and lose a lot of money. So we do have another meeting. We had a meeting with MDOT a couple weeks ago and all the town business people, and we're doing one again tomorrow at 6 o'clock at the Hofbrau in the greater village of Interlaken. If anybody's interested in doing that, you know, we'll have Tom's there, Gary from TCH, and the area business people, and talk about what we can do to communicate with people to let them know that we're actually open and we're not closed for the year. It's going to be an 8-month project, it sounds like, starts in April, ends in November. They're going to close down 31 for at least the first month, and then if they don't have any rain or any delays, they're going to open up one lane going from east to west. But with that, with the townspeople, we're talking about what happens when that happens. What can you do for people to get information about the area businesses and stuff like that, and what we can do to reduce the impact of of non-business and that kind of stuff. So if anybody's interested, you're welcome to come out. You might take some information out of it, so if it ever, you're lucky enough to get it in your town, you'll know what might work and what might not work. Free beer.
Awesome, sort of. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Commissioner Walter?
Yeah, there are 2 senior expos coming up. You may or may not remember, we haven't had any since before the pandemic. So not one is coming back, there are 2. And the one that was regularly organized before the pandemic, that's coordinated with the Bay Area Senior Advocates, is happening on Wednesday, May 13th at the Civic Center Howe Arena. Time TBD. And then another entity is hosting an expo called Be Well Senior Expo on Monday, April 6th from 10 to 1 at the Haggerty Center. And that came from the Commission on Aging meeting yesterday. So good things happening. Another thing that Commission on Aging is exploring that we budgeted for this year is more money for transportation for seniors. So we're working on a possible collaboration with Beta that looks a little bit different, and with contracting a little more with some taxi services. If you have a taxi service, there aren't very many around here, but we are looking for more taxi vendors.
Are you guys talking with Uber, that kind of stuff?
You
Or
know,
not really
there's,
so much?
no, the Uber and Lyft is
Not a thing.
not so good around here, yeah. Not very reliable.
Inconsistent, yeah.
Yeah, it's very inconsistent.
Commissioner Morris?
I don't have anything as far as reports, but as a commissioner, when I hear the same story and concerns over and over and over, I believe that it's my responsibility to speak up for that. So today, I'm going to be a voice for people who feel like they don't have a voice, so I want you to bear with me. I'm going to speak up today to create awareness of a very common type of abuse that often goes unrecognized, unreported, and leaves the victim feeling unsupported and re-victimized by the system. And I want you to understand, I'm not mad at anybody. I don't want to point fingers at anybody. I just want to point out that this is the system that we have. So reactive abuse is a situation where a person has endured sustained abusive behavior, either emotional or physical, and then they react aggressively toward their abuser. So by the time, say, a woman finally reacts, she's learned and absorbed psychological effects such as low self-worth, anxiety, hypervigilance, and various other trauma responses. She will take all of the blame upon herself, as well as keeping secrets to preserve her family unit. This will go on for years, until one day she's pushed past her ability to endure any longer. When that happens, she gets to be characterized as the abuser, the aggressor, my woman is crazy, while her smug partner gets to bask in being the victim. Here's an example of what this might look like as it goes through our system. So one day a woman is just kind of doing her thing, doing her morning routine maybe, or cooking dinner, whatever. The husband decides to start in on her. Constant barrage of criticism, harassing, insulting. Nothing new, she's dealt with this for years. But over the next hour or so, maybe it escalates. Maybe he might shove her a little, grab her arm, give her a shake. Maybe he pushes her, gets in her face and screams. He stops short of actually punching her, but the verbal assault continues, berating, belittling, until she finally snaps. She throws something at him. Maybe it's something small, like a cup of yogurt. Maybe it's something large, like a paperweight, or something that might be considered a weapon, like, say, a steak knife. Her trauma response is in full swing. She's screaming and crying out of control. Maybe she runs out the door to escape, take a walk around the block. The man calls the police to report that she assaulted him, threw something at him. He doesn't mention everything he did that led up to her reaction. And he might even embellish his story. But as we all know, if law enforcement shows up, somebody's going to jail, right? And since the husband called them, she's already behind the 8 ball. So unless she actually says the magic words, "He hit me first and I reacted," she's going to be leaving in handcuffs. Chances are, since this has been her life for so many years, she will once again take the blame for this altercation. Or she'll be in a full PTSD meltdown and unable to string 2 sentences together. Either way, she appears to be the crazy one, the abusive one, and now the victim has been set up to be further victimized by the system. So here's how it plays out. She'll spend a day or so in jail. When she gets out, she can't go home because there will be a no contact order. So she calls the usual shelters for women, but they tell her that since she was charged with assault or domestic violence, they can't shelter her. Her husband probably has her car, so she can't even stay in that. If she's lucky, she'll be able to call somebody who can help her find a place to stay while she sorts through all of the legal proceedings. If not, she'll be on the streets. She'll go to a court hearing for whatever it was they charged her with, domestic violence, assault, whatever. Her court-appointed attorney will likely advise her to just take a plea because it's easier. And if she doesn't take a plea, she might be charged with things like, I don't know, child endangerment if her kids are in the room, or assault with a deadly weapon with intent. So it's just easier. She can get a light sentence, probation, maybe some classes, community service, and it won't be on a permanent record if she does everything the courts ask. Both the lawyer and the defendant may know full well that some of the claims made against her might be embellished or outright false, but she'll still be encouraged to just let it go, be quiet, take the sentence she was given, and learn a lesson. What lesson is she learning? By now, she hasn't seen her kids for months. By the time she finds a lawyer she can afford to help her work through the family court system, it's going to be many months more. And she can't contact the other parent to ask to see her children. So since she was the one charged with a crime, she now has to prove that she's a fit parent, even if she has been their primary caregiver all along. CPS will be involved, and everything she does is going to be under scrutiny for the foreseeable future. During this time, the man who caused all of this will likely move on to the next woman he can control while she puts in the grueling years-long work to start over. And even the experts whose literal job it is to know what abuse looks like will tell her, well, you shouldn't have reacted the way you did. It's no wonder that so many choose not to fight back, choose not to leave, but to endure what they must to keep things as they are. Anything else is just too overwhelming. As I said, the situation is not anybody's fault, not law enforcement, not judges, not attorneys. They're not required to have compassion. They're not required to look at the extraneous circumstances, but they abide within the confines of the law. It's just the system that we have to work with. But I've heard multiple versions of the same story within our community, and I'm speaking out today not to place blame, but to ask if there's something we can do better in order to prevent the re-victimization of women who've already experienced abuse for so long, because at this point, they are in a mental health crisis. So I believe the first step is awareness. So in your spare time, I ask my colleagues to look up reactive abuse, and I'm almost positive you'll come to the realization that somebody in your life either has experienced it at some point or is currently enduring it. And then maybe, just maybe, we can put our heads together and come up with a solution. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris, for reading it. And I agree. Commissioner Spence.
Yes, it's tax season, and I sit on the board of, I'm a director with the Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. They do provide free tax preparation for anyone earning less than $100,000 annually. Seniors, those with disabilities, or limited English speaking skills. Their number is 947-3780, or you can go to their website, nmcaa.net, for more information. I see a lot of things on the social media, like overheard in Traverse City, about people needing help with tax preparation, so it's important to share this information if you don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Andrews? I don't have anything. Mr. Alger?
Recess commences tonight at the airport, 5:30 till 7.
Well, at least I'll go see my mom.
I will see your mom.
Does Phoebe go to recess?
My mom goes to every recess.
Mom is the cutest.
Anything else, Mr. Forsythe? Mr. Gibbon?
Not from us.
All right, well, we're going to move on to second public comment. Anybody have anything to say at this time, please move to the podium. Remember, you have 3 minutes.
Justin Reed, city resident. I would say thank you, Mrs. Morris, for that brave story. You know, things need to improve, and that's something that, you know, that needs to happen. And in fact, the county sheriff would be nice to model what the city does for the city cops, model the same program for the response with the county sheriff. You know, like adding a social worker onto the county sheriff, or, you know, something as a model as what the city has been successful on doing with their city cops. But I do want to go ahead and I want to say that there was a discussion with Linda Zeller and your county sheriff Shea about the county jail services. And one thing that I want to remind the county commission of this is, you know, underneath the Medicaid Provider Manual of Michigan, Section 2 Program Requirements, Medicaid does not cover services provided to persons, children, and voluntary residing in non-medical public facilities such as jails, non-medical prisons, or juvenile detention facilities. And this is something that hasn't changed for a long time, and it's still there. So, for one, last year, Northern Lake Ski Month will fire 30 people laid off. And so, trying to staff the county jail and trying to get some sort of agreement between Northern Lakes and the county is not gonna, that can't happen, just because there's so much on their plate right now. I mean, you know, with people laid off. And also, too, there would have to be some sort of contract between Northern Lakes and the county, because the county would have to use it as a third party into the county jail services. So unless there's some sort of contract between Northern Lakes and the county jail services, I do not think that that this is going to move forward. I think that there needs to be more talking about how on how the fact that it was said that there was no, by Murray Roy during the directors meeting, said that there was no trust between Northern Lakes and the county. Maybe going ahead and having a contract to go ahead and have compromise on what things can and cannot happen. So more transparency, and instead of just not having facts, because facts are very rude. And thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Once, twice, 3 times a charm. Any notices? Anyone? No? Fantastic. Well, seeing there's no closed session, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great, safe Wednesday.